Today's video is brought to you by StoryboardThat.com. Please visit teachercast.net/storyboardthat for a limited time offer. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Tech Educator Podcast live on Sunday, June 21st. Today is our salute to ISTE 2015. We have a great show. Our place is packed tonight. We have a lot of co-hosts. We have a lot of great guests. I want to introduce today Mr. Sam Patterson. Sam, how are you doing today? How are things out in California?
Things in California are amazing. I had a really great week this week. We got to spend a little bit of time with the folks at CoLab, funded by Zynga, at the Zynga building in San Francisco, to talk about apps. And on Friday, Waka actually got to make puppets with the Edutopia staff.
That is really, really cool. I got a chance to see some of those pictures. How was it?
It was really amazing. They've got that land up in the middle of the hills, really gorgeous, lots of deer and Ewoks and whatnot running around.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, good day.
I'm sorry, they have what?
Oh, I actually couldn't. I'm really. He's not allowed to say anything about the Ewoks. They made them sign a paper.
Ah, excellent.
Not the Ewoks, the lawyers.
Excellent.
Yes, the Ewoks have lawyers.
Well, let's bring on our next co-host, Mr. Josh. Josh Gauthier, how are you today?
Doing wonderful.
Josh,
yeah,
I got to tell you, last week you did an amazing show for us on Google Maps and Google Earth, and that thing so far has been blowing up my Twitter feed. It was an awesome show.
It was a lot of fun. We just had a great time. We had Kurt Wismer on, who has curated an excellent website, and we just had a good time kind of sharing some tools and problem solving, and we had a really active audience that was throwing some questions at us, and it was a lot of fun. So thanks for giving us an opportunity to run that one.
Nice. And while we were doing that, I was driving back from Connecticut, where I was with Mr. David Saunders. David, how was your weekend last week? What were you doing?
I had a fantastic weekend. I was helping to run a Google and Education Summit in Connecticut at the Renbrook School, and we had Lee and also Jeff Bradbury as lead learners there. And it was a fantastic weekend for about 150 teachers from all over Connecticut.
Well, in all fairness, one of our guests tonight, Lee, was a lead learner. I was actually a Jeff learner, and thank you so. What?
What?
What? What?
Right, good night,
and
everybody.
so we will certainly. Oh, this is how we start the show. And so, thank you so much for having us up there. We look forward to learning more about that. I want to bring on Mr. Jeff Herb. How are you today?
Doing great, Jeff. How are you doing?
Doing well. You see, you're outside today. You're sipping some cocktails. You're getting ready for the big conference next week.
Yes. Yeah. Calm before the storm, right?
Yes. And how did you end your year off?
Very well, actually. The past month has been crazy. Been doing a daily doctoral class in June to try and knock out 2 courses this summer. So it's been a little rough. Been working half days and then going to class at night. It's been a little crazy. So hasn't been too many updates on instructional tech talk, but hopefully that'll change with the trip to ISTE.
Now, at what point in time do they show you how to use the stethoscope?
Yeah, that's a slightly, if they bring out a stethoscope in this program, then I have some big questions to ask.
You never know. There's, of course, several great ways that you can get
rubber gloves that are the problem.
Exactly.
I don't want to know. There's, of course, several great ways that you can connect with our show. We are here live every single Sunday night at 7 o'clock on teachercast.tv. You can, of course, check out all of the archives. This is show number 96. 95 yeah, I know. 95 episodes are now archived over on TechEducator.com, and you can check them out. All audio, all video, all subscribable, and of course, we can be found on iTunes. If you are over on iTunes subscribing to either our audio or our video show, please take a moment to write a nice review. Podcasters love it. If you're a fan of podcasters or Podcast PD, certainly check out the show and certainly leave us a great review. Want to bring on some of our co-hosts because, of course, we're talking all about ISTE. Our guest of honor today is none other than an ISTE board member, and he is going to be presenting at the TeacherCast booth on Wednesday. Want to bring on this year's ASCD member of the ASCD Emerging Leader class, Mr. Matt Harris. Matt, how are you today?
Very good. How are you doing?
Doing well. Thank you so much for being on the show today. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, gosh. Well, as you kind of alluded to in some of the talks that we've had before, I actually live and work in Singapore.
in Asia. And I just got to the U.S. yesterday. Sure, yesterday. Whatever, my body clock's a little off. I work as a senior administrator in an international school. I'm moving to a new one this coming August. I'm on the board of directors for ISTE, and I will be chair of ISTE come January 2016.
That is awesome. Congratulations. What does all that mean, being the board, the chair of the board? What kind of fun things do you get to do as a board member for ISTE?
Oh, quite a bit. So we get to be involved in all of the kind of the strategic work for ISTE. So as ISTE kind of grows its connection to the ed tech world and everybody that's listening here, we help ISTE define that vision, help ISTE move in the directions that kind of we see things are going in. We give strategic guidance to the staff. We do financial checks to make sure that ISTE is nice and healthy as they go forward and as they're starting to do all these really great things. We advise quite a bit as they start refreshing new programs like the standards, and as they prep more for the conference. We're right in the thick of that from a leadership perspective, and then you get this great connection to all of these other folks they're doing real great work in the world of ed tech all over the world. What's a little unique for me is that I'm going to be doing this from overseas, so I'll be the first chair not living in North America, not living in the United States. So we're going to really connect ISTE beyond kind of the borders it's been limited by recently, and really hit the entire world, and that will really be an advantage for everybody. I mean, we're gonna be hitting folks in Asia.
That sounds really great, Matt.
Yeah.
When you've got an organization as big as ISTE, how do you decide like what your priorities are and where you're going to put your resources and what projects you're really going to develop for your members?
Well, it's an iterative process, obviously. So, you know, the CEO does a lot of this work in conjunction with us. We create a set of strategies and ends that we want the organization to accomplish, and then he interprets those, and we discuss where you're going to go. And obviously, ISTE can't do everything, so they do some pilots, we do some connections, and we see where the greatest opportunities are, and then we grow from there.
So for teachers who don't know that much about ISTE, they're going to be really blown away by the different directions this show goes in. Where's the first place they should go to learn basically what ISTE is and the different kinds of projects ISTE gets involved in?
I think obviously the ISTE website, and if you jump on the EdTech Hub, there's a lot of good information there that kind of gives you a feel for where things are going, what we're doing. Get involved in the communities and start talking to other people that are doing things with ISTE. Those are the most powerful pieces that I've found. Come to the conference and then really get to know the standards. I mean, the standards and the conference and the communities are the pieces that ISTE uses for the most outreach, and it's the best way to get to know exactly just how impactful ISTE has become in our field.
Excellent. And the standards you refer to are the content and performance standards around students and technology, correct?
No, it's more than that. I mean, the ISTE standards, they hit every level of instruction and learning within an organization that's, you know, within a school or a district. I mean, there's standards for administrators, there's standards for teachers, there's standards for students, and now there's the standards for coaches, for those that are actually helping the instructional pieces. And so by understanding those, you have a nice benchmark for what are we really aiming for when we do ed tech in a classroom. They're a great resource, and they're used everywhere. If you go to any school that's boasting about their ed tech program, they say that they connect to the ISTE standards.
Well, and that's one of the great services that ISTE has kind of provided, is this, you know, lexicon to have the conversation. These standards really aren't, you know, everyone needs to do X, Y, and Z, but here's what's important in education. Jeff Herb, I know that you've had a relationship with the ISTE conference for years, and could you talk a little bit about how participating in the conference and the organization impacts your professional career?
Yeah, absolutely. So the conference has been huge for me. You know, originally it turned into this thing where you go to the conference and you participate in the sessions, and that's what you bring home, is what the content you learned in a few sessions, right? And then over the years, as teachers have learned to use Twitter and the professional learning network expands, you have that ability to not only get great information from people at the sessions, but also have that opportunity to network with people, meet up with people, share. And the conference is this hub to be able to form those connections and then make that carry out through the rest of the year too. So, the conference itself is huge, but it's the networking that you have through ISTE Connect and that kind of stuff that will carry it to that next level. So I know that has been huge for me. And additionally, what was just said about the frameworks that have been put in place are really huge. We have been trying to find great resources for our coaches to be able to utilize. And so that's really exciting to hear the new framework for coaches, because a lot of times they're feeling like they're out in left field trying to figure out how they're supposed to coordinate and network together. And to have those kind of standards and frameworks available has really been beneficial. So on an administrator front, building those collaborative networking groups, and then also having kind of a common set of languages and standards to use is really phenomenal.
Before we get any farther, I want to make sure that we introduce our other guest for today, Mr. Lee Green. How are you today, Lee?
I'm doing fantastic, guys. Thanks for having me.
Why don't you quickly introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you?
So name's Lee Green, based in Rome, Georgia. I'm an instructional technologist / interim director of technology / you can use a computer guy to help people do stuff better. I know that's a long title, but it kind of works. It's what I do.
Awesome.
Got to have a great weekend last weekend with Jeff and David up in Connecticut. So that was fantastic.
Nice. Also want to bring on Doug. Doug, today, how are you today?
I'm golden. I'm happy to be here. Thank you so much.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm reading a fantastic book. I don't know if you guys have read it yet. It makes me laugh, makes me think. You're welcome.
What book is that for those listening to this program?
It's my second book. It's called The Teaching Text. You're welcome.
Nice.
And it's not going to teach you anything about teaching.
Very, very cool.
Sign me up.
So we're talking today all about ISTE. Where is it? When is it? It is, of course, going to be held this year, next week, July. What am I doing here? June 28th to July 1st, and of course it's going to be held at the Pennsylvania Convention Center. I got to tell you, this is my fourth ISTE. I went out to California, I went to Texas, I went to Atlanta. I am so looking forward to this. What are you guys looking forward to this year at ISTE? Matt, let me start with you, being on the board of ISTE. What things is the ISTE board looking forward to?
Probably the cheesesteak. You have to really get a good view of all the cheesesteak available. So we're gonna go out early and try them all out. Soledad O'Brien, I think, is going to be an amazing keynote to start the sessions off. Definitely very excited about her. We're giving several sessions that I think are going to be really interesting around connecting with international agencies, and then just the sessions that we're going to have in general. I mean, if you look at the program, it's just packed this year. Anything and everything you want to talk about related to ed tech is going to be there. So, yeah, it's going to be great.
And Matt, how many ISTE conferences have you been to?
Oh, we don't count. Quite a few.
Quite a few?
Quite a few. Let's just say that.
When does ISTE start to plan? I mean, I know somewhere on your website hidden is, ISTEconference.org/Denver 2016. When do you guys really start to plan for all these events? I mean, how many years out is this?
The locations are planned out for many, many years. I mean, we're talking 20s or 30s at this point. Is how far the locations are planned out, because ISTE brings in the number I heard is just staggering. It's for $50 million of revenue into these cities. I mean, we really are a presence. When you bring up to 20,000 people into a particular city, it's a big win for everybody.
So you're saying there's going to be a lot of cheesesteaks and pretzels
for a very
sold,
long time,
right? Lots of cheesesteaks and pretzels sold this weekend.
Absolutely.
Very, very cool. Jeff, you've been to ISTE before. What are some of the things that you look forward to as you get ready?
One of my favorite pieces, to be perfectly honest, is the Bloggers Cafe area. I know that on the grand scheme of things, that's a relatively small aspect of the conference, but it's really great to be able to interact with people that you see through Twitter and you interact with through comments on each other's blogs throughout the year. To have that opportunity to meet up and sit, 4 or 5 of you at the same table and be able to just bounce ideas off each other really huge in my opinion. And I know, Jeff, that, randomly you pull people in to do broadcasts from that Bloggers Cafe. And I think that that's a great opportunity too. Keeping people thinking on their feet and being able to have some great conversations is something I really value about that space.
Lee, have you been to an ISTE conference before? And if so, what are you looking forward to this year?
Yeah, this is my second one. I was in Atlanta last year as a noob. Actually, a late arrival to this year. I wasn't 100% sure I was going. Something worked out, and I'm able to be there. Yeah, that Bloggers Cafe impressed me more than anything. I have to agree with Jeff. Just the ability to sit down and talk to people and build those connections and build that relationship and really increase your, I don't like a better term, pocket brain. That I've just made more connections and more people that can help me with stuff because I know I need help. That's the amazing part.
I always look at the Bloggers Cafe as its own unconference. I mean, you never know who's going to be there. You never know what kind of connections you're going to see there. You just might get attacked by Waka. You never know. And it is a great place just to, start up a conversation with somebody. And one of the questions that people always bring up is, will so-and-so be there, or I hope to see somebody. So let's talk about this. What do you do if you're walking through ISTE and you find your EduCelebrity of choice or your EduCrush or that one person that you always want to meet? Sam, what do you do when people approach you for autographs?
We should be clear that they're probably approaching Waka, right?
Right.
Who wants to talk to Sam?
Right.
What do you do when you're walking down the hallway and you hear, "Hey, that's the guy from Breaking Bad"?
Right. I turn and I look at them really hard, and then they go away.
And you say you're the one who knocks.
I am the one who puppets.
I am the one behind the one who's orange and furry.
I don't think any of that is something you say, unless you're me.
Doug, what are you thinking about this year? What are you looking forward to in Philadelphia?
I don't know who you asked.
Doug, go ahead, Doug.
Might be me.
Doug? Thoughts on Philly? Things you're looking forward to?
Well, Doug's video keeps freezing, so what he's looking forward to is the high engagement teaching through puppeting workshop. Yeah.
When is that?
It's going to be, it's on Monday evening. I think it's during your podcast, your Birds of a Feather thing, Jeff.
Well, we'll certainly get into that.
Yeah. And but he's going to be there with Corson, his monster that helps co-teach, and we're going to get people building sock puppets and making videos to use in class.
Throughout ISTE, one I'm gonna just go right by that one.
It's a good segue. That's a good segue.
It's a good segue, right?
That was solid.
Okay.
You got mad logic, brah.
Puppet is talking. We will just keep going on from there. No, but seriously, I mean, there's a lot of great things that are happening this year at ISTE. One of the questions that always comes up is, what do I bring, right? Like, do I bring all my laptops? Do I bring my iPad? What works for me? Is there something to take notes on? Are the presenters going to have sessions? What advice do you guys give? Because I know, Jeff, one time we were talking about you guys started like a gigantic Google Doc for the ICE conference. What advice do you guys have as far as, let's just say, learning at ISTE and just taking it all in?
Well, I would say that the gigantic doc at a conference the size of ISTE is not something that's as feasible. I would say that what I've done in the past, which does get somewhat overwhelming, is do an if this then that for the ISTE15 hashtag, and then have it share or save each tweet into a Google spreadsheet. That way I can kind of go through and, it's kind of curated all the tweets from ISTE, or at least the amount that it will actually save before it says you've done too much in the 15 minutes that you've on your refresh rate. But that's something that's really good. I mean, I'm always following the ISTE15 hashtag, but at the same time, it's going so fast that I know I'm going to miss something that I'm going to want to be able to remember from, 5, 10, 20 minutes ago. So that's something that I would recommend, is setting up an if this and that for the ISTE hashtag.
How does one go ahead and do that?
Specifically?
Yeah.
Well,
because to put a spreadsheet together for the ISTE hashtags, I mean, that's a lot.
You mean that's a lot of hashtags?
It's a lot of hashtags.
It's a lot of hashtags. There's a lot of tweets to that hashtag for sure. I can create a recipe and I'll share it out in the show notes of this episode that people can link to if they want to just steal it. I'll be sure to do that. But if you're creative and curious, if you just go to ifttt.com and create a recipe, you're going to need to link your Google Drive to your account on If This Then That, and then obviously your Twitter account. And from there, it's pretty easy. You say if tweet, and then the search string would be the hashtag ISTE. Is it 2015 or 15? I can't remember, guys.
Matt, do you know that one? What is the official hashtag?
He's muted.
The official hashtag, from what I've seen, is they go with the long one, is the official one. So ISTE 2015 is what I think they put out as official. There are several who are boycotting that and tweeting the ISTE 15. So thankfully it's fairly easy, especially if you use TweetDeck. You can follow both in the same column, just putting or between the two hashtags. And so you can follow them both, but ISTE 2015 is actually the official hashtag.
Okay, so if we're talking official hashtag, you could just do the search and for hashtag ISTE 2015, and then that would be create a new row in a Google spreadsheet, and those are actually all pre-made items that you just select. Say search this, create a new row with new tweets, and then you run it, and it just updates itself every, I think it's 15 minutes. Really easy to do, and if you're kind of put off by having to do something like that or you don't really know how, we'll create one and put it in the show notes. You can link right to it and save it directly to your own If This Then That account. No problem.
It's interesting there, Jeff, because we have many hashtags. Like you said, we have ISTE 15, ISTE 2015, but our good friend Craig Yen is actually a part of the Not at ISTE hashtag. And if you're looking at TweetDeck, add that category too. There's an official Not at ISTE Voxer group. There's an official Not at ISTE Google group. There's the hashtag. They're actually getting sponsors right now for their Not at ISTE-ness. And it is pretty cool that not only are you going to get 20 to 25,000 educators at ISTE, but our good friend Craig Yen has massed an army of people who are not going, that are going to be sitting there watching the hashtag, watching everything, and they're going to be giving away prizes for people not being at ISTE. I think that's kind of fun.
Living vicariously through the conference. We're in an amazing place, gentlemen. We are in an amazing time.
It is pretty cool that they're starting their own unconference around not being at a conference. It's really, really neat. So if you aren't able to make it, certainly check out the Not at ISTE hashtag. But Matt, there are ways to check out some of the presentations, right? There's an ISTE channel that you can sign up for if you're not going to be there, where you can watch some of the stuff live?
Yeah, they are doing a lot live. The ISTE app is still available, so you can use that to keep up with what's going on, and the ISTE website will have regular updates throughout the conference. That
ISTE app is absolutely great because you can see presenters, you can see schedules, you can see times, but I think the best thing about that app, if you're going to ISTE or if you're not going to ISTE, you can rate your presenters, which is awesome. And as somebody who's doing presentations, I think most of us here are doing presentations, rate your presenters after those sessions that you go to. Absolutely, it's like leaving a podcast review, but the more you rate your presenters positively, that helps us get to present next year at ISTE. I mean, ISTE looks at all of that stuff. So if you're in a session, certainly go on the hashtag or certainly go on the app and rate your presenters. Absolutely looking forward to that. Speaking of presenting, what advice does anybody here have for presenters? Should we flash everybody up with 50,000 keynote slides? Should we make these things hands-on workshops? Should we lecture people? What advice does anybody have here as far as being a presenter or facilitating a workshop?
Well, I know that the conferences I typically present at, and I don't really see ISTE being that different. The feedback that I typically get, and this is kind of a model I try and follow, is introduce one or two main ideas and then a couple of ways that you can get at that main idea, and then have a facilitation session where they get started, they're actually creating something, and they leave your session having completed the task and knowing what to do, should they want to adapt it to whatever they're doing in their own classroom. I think that it really helps kind of solidify what the tool is that they're using or the concept they're trying to master, if they can actually create something, take it back with them, and know different ways that they can apply it to their own curriculum. So, that's the feedback that I consistently get, is that is a very beneficial model, and it's one that I try and typically use as well.
Sam, what advice do you have for presenters?
Sam.
Are we all muted here?
Sam is frozen, I think.
Sam is frozen. Let me pass it over to Doug. Doug, is this your first year presenting?
This is my first year at ISTE. Yeah, I've been doing conferences for about 2 years, but this is the first time I'll be at ISTE. And I got easy advice for presenters. Smile. Because I feel like a lot of us, it's not that we all have the exact same things to say, but a lot of us are kind of presenting the same ideas. So one of the things people come away from is, I liked that person, so I want to try to do more like that. And I really feel like having a personality and not being real dry is pretty key when it comes to presenting.
I think that's certainly a great idea. I mean, one of the best advices I've ever had is, remember, you're up there entertaining. And if you're not entertaining, you're not educating. But there's a lot of neat things going on here. Sam, are you back?
I am.
What we've been talking about, advice that one might have for presenters, and I know you're certainly one to spend hours and hours and hours and hours creating your slides. Tell us a little bit about how you prepare for your sessions.
Well, it really depends on the kind of session. When I'm doing something like a robot session at Q, I'll try to get people doing things with the robots as much as possible. And at Q, that was amazing because we had like 300 people in the room, and we actually moved all of the chairs to the side so we could play with robots in the middle of the room. But we had to move the chairs back, or the people would have got really mad at us. But it's really hard to do that at a conference, because conferences are really structured to be sit and get opportunities. But, my encouragement to presenters is, if there's a benefit to moving the chairs, be brave and move the chairs, right? Like, don't give in to the room they give you. Make it better if you can.
Well, and I'm thinking of when I know some of us did the Google Education on Air, maybe was it like 6 weeks ago or so, and Google for Education sent presenters a copy of a book. I think it was called Weekend Conversations, and it was just sort of common sense advice on how to be engaging when you're presenting in front of people, and how you really should be modeling it more on how you engage with your friends and family on the weekend, and less like you're standing up in front of people and using jargon and language and concepts that are kind of difficult to get or kind of inside baseball. And so try to make it anecdotal, try and make it actionable, try and make yourself approachable. And I think, having done ISTE a few times, I think also allowing for and building into your session a back channel for questions, comments, for people within that room to augment whatever it is that you are all discussing together. I think enhances the overall experience of everyone in that room.
But how do you do that? I mean, you might be going into a room thinking one thing about your session, and then realize that there's like 500 chairs in your room because ISTE thought it was going to be a big deal, and you might have suddenly 500 people in your room watching your presentation or your panel discussion. How do you prepare for the unknown going into these big conferences?
I think it's just, knowing your content and figuring out, having kind of like a couple of different options. It's almost like a choose your own adventure. When you see the group that you're working with, you'll be able to kind of scale your presentation to the size of the group that you have. I think if you end up having 15 people in your session, you have the opportunity to have a little bit more hands-on, where you can float the groups and be able to, give hands-on, one-on a couple guidance to actually make it relevant to what they're going to go back and use it for. And I think that that's really beneficial. If, for instance, you have the 300 people in the group, I got to give a shout out to Jenny McGarrah a couple of years ago at the ICE conference. It was one of the most amazing things I've ever seen. She had probably about 200 people in a session, and she's up there. She had everyone load a Google form on their device, fill it out, and then she ran Doctopus on the fly, and actually grouped us based on our content area and grade level, and got us into groups in the conference in that session to be able to have us have specific conversations about what we wanted to bring back from that conference. I mean, she did a great job, and a shout out to her. She was just named the Chief Technology Officer at a district near us, so good for her on that. But I think back to that you have that opportunity in a small session to really get into the nitty gritty of what teachers are teaching and how you can augment it with what technology you have to just present to them, and then on the grand scale get teachers talking to each other about the technology you just told them about and how they can bring it back home. So a couple of different ways. You just need to be flexible.
I think it goes back to I don't know, I follow a lot of the stand-up sort of folks. You got to be able to work the room and make sure that people that you're engaging that crowd. Again, it goes back to selling, it goes back to talking, it goes back to just understanding my group. I'm with 15 now, I'm with 100 now. Whatever it is, you just have to, like I forget who just said it, more than selling the content, you're kind of selling yourself and putting yourself out there and say, hey, this is what I'm doing, this is why I think it's cool, this is why it matters to me, and being warm and open about it. And Jenny is amazing at that.
Right. And to the degree that it's possible, I know I did ISTE a few years ago, and I presented with 2 colleagues, and when we sort of structured the whole thing so that we were sharing, and then while one person was sharing, we had the 2 other people monitoring sort of our specific session hashtag and our back channel to be sort of addressing, interrupting, and saying, hey, this question just came up, what do you think about that? And so to sort of tag team that session was really helpful, I think, for everybody.
Matt, one of the things that I love about ISTE is the fact that they think about the people at ISTE, they think about the people not at ISTE, but they think about the people all over this conference. If you are at ISTE and for some reason you can't make a session, such as the keynote, which the keynote room is huge, but the thing I liked about ISTE last year is that you guys set up viewing stations all throughout the conference. So if you couldn't make it into the big room, you could go to the Bloggers Cafe and check out the keynote. You could go to a couple of these other areas where you've set up TVs. I think that's really cool that you guys are making sure that everybody there is taken care of and everybody there literally gets a front row seat to all the best of that of the conference.
And that's the interesting part, that one of the biggest pieces of feedback that we get is that there are just so many people. There's so many people, and there's so much content that how do you do it all? And so I know the staff keeps thinking about those things, keeps trying to find ways to kind of create legacy out of all of these items. But yeah, if you try and drink it all in, you're drinking from the fire hose. And so jump in, check out some sessions, have your friends spread out, share some Evernote docs. I mean, whatever you're going to do, Google Docs, do that. And just to add on to the previous discussion, because I actually learned quite a bit. This is the best part about doing these sorts of presentations and talks, is you always learn something. The one thing that I was always told is aim for no more than 3 takeaways, because you're not going to get retention from your attendees if you try and give them more than 3 things. And so I love this other stuff about engagement. I try and do all that, but if you're finding you're trying to give everything you got, they're not going to get it.
Well, let's talk about those 3 takeaways. Of course, as you said earlier, Matt, those 3 things that we want to take away are cheesesteaks, pretzels, and the beautiful Philly weather. What are some of those things that you're looking forward to, Matt, outside of the convention?
Outside of the convention. Well, like I said, I live in Singapore, and I'm in San Francisco right now, and so it feels like I'm in an icebox. So if I get to go to Philadelphia and it's a nice 95 degrees and 90% humidity, I feel like I'm at home. To me, the biggest takeaways from the conference, honestly, beyond the content, which I think is wonderful, is the people. Is this networking opportunity to meet the folks that you don't get to meet all year, like all of you. So I get to see all of you at the conference. This is great. You actually put a body to the face instead of a face to the name, right? These people have 3 dimensions. And to have those real conversations just in the halls. I mean, being in the sessions is great. Sitting through the keynotes is totally engaging, but just walking down from one end to the other and getting stopped and talking to people about real things, you don't get that anywhere else. Like, you don't get that level of passion at any other conference. So that's my prime takeaway. And there's a million other ones, but that one alone is worth the trip for me.
Has anybody here ever been to Philadelphia? Do you guys know the area? Is there anything that you guys are looking forward to in the city?
I got one thing that this is going to be before cheesesteak. We are going to run the steps a la Rocky. That has got to happen. That's a personal dream of mine. I will have to take several breaks and rehydrate along the way, I'm sure.
Can you add that to like the Eventbrite list of
yes,
events,
it needs to be on there. Maybe we do it as a group. I don't know. Gray sweatsuits. But yeah, that's on my to-do list. How do you go to Philly and not do that?
If you are going to ISTE, of course, everybody wants to know great places to see things, great places to do, and right across from the convention center is something called the Reading Terminal Market, which is absolutely like the food destination in all of the East Coast. If you ever watch the Food Network, they're always going there. Great ice cream, great food, great cheesesteaks. Anything that you want, it's there because it's mostly run by the Amish. So it's all farm fresh. It's all great. Definitely check out the Reading Terminal Market before you spend like $6 on a pretzel from one of the vendors. Absolutely a great place to go. And there's, of course, several other, there's like a Hard Rock Cafe if you want to do some of those things. But definitely, make sure that we have 25,000 educators all tweeting from inside the Reading Terminal Market. Absolutely one of those destination places to go. And, there's several other great places to see. There's the Philadelphia Art Museum where you can run the Rocky Steps, or in my case, I'll be walking the Rocky Steps. There's the Kimmel Center that's got, the home of the Philadelphia Orchestra, all the music places. But I would love to see some kind of a cheesesteak contest for the ISTE crowds to see who it is. I mean, is it Pat's? Is it Gino's? I'm a guy who likes Jim steaks. Where can people go for food? And if you guys have any suggestions, certainly start the ISTE food hashtag on there.
And if there's a really great vegetarian cheesesteak option, let me know.
I'm just going to pull something up here real quick. If I'm looking at this correctly, as we're planning the not at ISTE, not inside ISTE, let's see. Here's the weather forecast.
Oh.
So it's looking pretty good here. We have a little bit of rain coming in on Saturday and Sunday, but Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, it looks like it's scattered thunder showers. Matt,
That's good conference weather.
Matt, you have to plan these things in advance,
We're looking at Philly 2045, and we understand it's going to be about 95 degrees. So it's we're.
And 2045, Philly will be oceanfront too.
That's exactly right.
In both directions.
The island of Philadelphia.
But the Reading Terminal Market will still be there. So hopefully, definitely, we want to make sure that we bring some kind of a rain gear for all that. I don't know, Sam. I might have to rethink bringing the booth around and all the TV equipment that I have to bring in the rain here.
Well, you were going to use your children's wagon to haul it. Do they have a small boat?
I do have a small little bathtub that I can put everything in case we need to float across. And there are, look, if you are driving in, there are plenty of parking garages in the area. So certainly wait for me to get in there first, and then you can have the reign of any parking garage that you need to. I think I'm going to be getting in there about 5:30 anyway. For those of you who don't know, TeacherCast and TechEducator Podcast, we're going to be podcasting and broadcasting live from ISTE Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Monday and Wednesday, we're going to be at the Bloggers Cafe from 8 till noon. And in fact, if you want to check out a live Tech Educator podcast, we are going from 10:30 to 11:30, a full hour of Tech Educator. And I want to bring up at 11 o'clock, we have a very special guest coming on. We have the one, the only, the beautiful Miss Peggy George coming on at 11 o'clock to talk about her experiences at ISTE. She is being honored at ISTE this year, and as she always is. So check that out. We have some amazing guests coming up for ISTE this year. We have Angela Myers. We have John Carippo, our good friend from the Q. Matt,
the beautiful John Carippo.
The beautiful John Carippo.
A beautiful man.
Matt, you're going to be on our show on Wednesday. We've got some great companies coming on like Storyboard That and Selly and Pledge Sense and Remind. And on Tuesday, we have a very special day of broadcasting. We're going to be in room, I believe it's 125, I think it is, which is where we're doing a panel discussion on can your school district be both Apple, Google, Microsoft, that whole deal, where we're going to be having a panel discussion with Jenny Graybeck and Jamie Cassip, and I believe Waka is going to be moderating that. Waka, are you preparing for that panel discussion right now?
Yeah. Well, I've been splitting my time between watching old versions of SmackDown and reading the Douglas debates.
That should do it.
That scares me.
So.
Those things intersect in Philadelphia.
All things intersect in Philadelphia. Are you going to bring the scorecard, Jeff?
Am I going to bring the scorecard? I don't know if I'm going to be able to bring the scorecard for that. Actually, on Tuesday, we're going to be broadcasting live from room 103 BC. So check that out on Tuesday. That's the 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock. We've got Z-Space. We've got Telestream coming on to talk all about Wirecast. We've got Remind coming on. We've got Caliphone coming on. We've got our pre-show. And then the fun begins because from 1 o'clock till 5 o'clock, TeacherCast is going to be broadcasting a 4-hour Microsoft event live from the Microsoft education booth. So look for that. That's going to be pretty awesome. And then on Wednesday, we have Ed Surge, we have Matt Harris, we have Matt Miller coming on to talk about Ditch That Textbook. And then my favorite one out of everybody, Wednesday at 11, sorry, Matt. Wednesday at 11, we have Lego coming on to talk about Lego education. And I'm looking forward to that.
That'll be a good one.
I'm hoping they bring some of those Jurassic Park Legos with them.
So I have a question for the panel. And it's so there are all these amazing things that are happening at ISTE during that week between sessions and workshops and hands-on and panels and all the networking and all that. How are you sort of sharing your learning back with your communities when you get back to your school or your district? What are the systems that you've put in place, or what are the systems that you hope to put in place to sort of share what it is that you've learned and experienced at ISTE?
Well, I know for me personally, a big thing that I'm looking for at ISTE this year is advice and tips on how to better personalize professional learning with my teachers that I work with as a technology coach. So for me, how I plan on sharing the learning that I get if I am successful in finding those things is the system of professional learning that I can help put in place next year. So it won't be so much a matter of how do I disseminate the information. It'll actually be kind of how we do professional learning, at least as far as technology is concerned at my school. So it'll be, I'm dreaming big here of what could be accomplished over a summer, but I know we need to move that direction, and I'm hoping to get some good advice to be able to implement something like that by the start of the school year.
And when also any of your schools or districts have like requirements for when you go on a professional development experience, you need to come back, you need to present some of the faculty, you need to write some sort of a summary, you need to, those types of things?
We don't have that, but I try and accomplish as much as I can through the website. So usually after a big conference like this, there'll be a large windfall of posts that things I've learned from other people and sessions I went to and kind of a recap. And I know that a lot of people in our district follow that too. So it's kind of my unofficial way of sharing back with some of the stuff I was able to get from the conference.
Matt, what does ISTE do after the conference is over? I know they're going to have all these blog posts that are going to be written. I know there's going to be a lot of video because there is going to be a video crew running around that you might see me attached to a microphone with. What does ISTE do throughout the summer to help get people ready for Denver for next year and Philadelphia in 2045?
Yeah, we'll definitely be ready for 2045. That one's going to be a special one. What they do is they curate all of this content into more manageable chunks that are available through the website. They tie a lot to the EdTech Hub and to the communities, and so if you're on those, you'll get snippets of these pieces. The videos will always be available to you, and then they start to transition into the next set of pieces, right? I mean, we start for Denver basically on July 5th, right as soon as Philadelphia is done, we start moving on to the next one. My best advice would be to stay in touch with the ISTE website.
If you are a member of ISTE, I highly recommend that you guys get into these communities. I know I get the daily email with all of the message boards from ISTE, and it is absolutely a fantastic place to get information, to see where people are. Lately, these feeds have been basically like, what hotel are you going to be in? Who's staying at an Airbnb? How do I get there? Who wants to take me from the airport? These communities are awesome, and am I correct, Matt? They used to be called SIGs, but are they called something else now? Am I reading that right?
Well, the SIGs are now professional learning networks, so the online communities are a little bit different. You have both. You have the professional learning networks that are grouped by kind of affinity areas, so administrators, online learning, librarians, those sorts of things. But the communities, you can join pretty much anything you're interested in. I mean, you can join the PLNs as well, but they're a little bit more interactive, whereas the communities are just kind of information sharing and asking questions and whatnot.
If you're a first-time ISTE user, or even if you're running around the convention lost, there are several things that you can do to get help that you need. And I find one of the best ways is just to reach out to ISTE. The ISTE Connects Twitter account is fantastic, and they are there to help you out too. But also, and help me out with this one, Matt, you also have like help desks around the area for people who to do, and you also have volunteers with signs out there that's, you know, helping bring people on from buses and sharing the way. Talk to us about that network of volunteers that really make this conference special.
Oh, it's just amazing. This is actually the first year I'm not going to be able to volunteer. My schedule is just a little too heavy, but they do everything. So anything related to packing bags, to geolocators, to fixing your computer. I mean, if you're having an issue just getting on the network, there are folks, the numbers I don't even know, but it's got to be over 1,000 people that will volunteer over this weekend. That's a lot of blue t-shirts. And they make the conference happen along with the staff. And if there's anything you need, you need to find the cheesesteak, you need to find the rocky steps, they'll put you in that direction. They know the maps, they can help you with technical issues, they can get you your shirts and your badges. It's just, it is amazing what these people do.
I'm glad that you brought up badges, because many people are coming into Philadelphia early. And, you know, even though ISTE starts, is it Sunday, I believe, right, Matt? Monday.
The actual conference will start on Sunday. Yeah.
Sunday. You can pick up your badge on Saturday. There are times to do all that stuff. So that way you hit the ground running. Yeah. And definitely make sure that you get a chance to do that. I always love walking around and just seeing where things are. Matt, when does ISTE officially land in Philadelphia? I mean, it's June 21st. This thing isn't starting for another week. Are there ISTE people on the ground building things now? Are they scoping things out? Like, when does this monster decide to take over the cities?
There are people there now. You know, the event trucks have been on their way to Philadelphia for probably a week at least at this point. I will actually be there on Tuesday. We have some prep work to do on Wednesday, and then we have ISTE board for a couple days where we start planning out the rest of the year. And then events start for us Friday night. So we jump right into it.
So you're flying in on Tuesday?
I will be in there on my flight leaves San Francisco about 5 a.m. on Tuesday to get started with the work that I have to do. So, and there are people there in advance of us getting there.
So I know we're live here, Matt, but Tuesday night we need a babysitter. Are you available?
No.
Well, until 24:45. Thanks a lot.
How old will the Edu triplets be in 2045?
Let's see. They're 19 months now, so 46. It will be 40. I don't know. Is that 36? I don't know.
That's not how that works.
That's not how that works.
You did not math well.
I was not right.
Podcasting, yes. Math,
Where's Samuelson with the epic fail on that one there?
I'm sure there's a session you can attend at ISTE that'll help you with that.
Nice. Guys, we have a very, very live audience over here on TeacherCast.tv. As we're wrapping up here, if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. We will ask them. We have about 10 minutes to go in our show. I want to give everybody a chance to plug their sessions as long as it doesn't coincide with one of ours. Sam, why don't we start with you and tell us what you're doing, where you're going, and how to get a hold of you.
Sure. I'm knocking over my camera. This is just phenomenal. I'm going to be running a session Monday night on high engagement teaching and puppeting. And there'll also be a session I'm running on using Scratch Junior to use code to teach literacy. I'll be engaged in a super awesome Google versus Apple smackdown fight to the death. Is that what we're calling this, Jeff?
Panel discussion.
Panel discussion, cage match. And there's, a STEM and Robots K5 Birds of a Feather session on Tuesday evening, which will have Sphero there, and they will be giving something away.
Woohoo!
Wow. Are they giving away some Star Wars equipment?
I'm hoping. I asked them to bring either the Death Star or BB-8. We'll see what they can do.
Any Ewoks?
No Ewoks, as far as I know.
Jeff, are you doing any sessions? And if so, where can we find you?
Predominantly, my plan is to assist as much as I can with the Birds of a Feather podcasting session that is being put together, so that'll be exciting. And Jeff, I know that you'll probably talk more about that in just a minute. Additionally, I'll be joining Alice Keeler every morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, to do Coffee EDU at the Starbucks. So
is that location determined yet? And
yes,
it has been determined, and I'll make sure we put it in the show notes. I don't remember the address off the top of my head, but it is apparently right around the corner from the conference hall itself.
Two weeks ago, after we had Alice on the show, I specifically went over to Philadelphia to scout out a location for Coffee EDU.
Oh, there you go. So you know it well.
Yes, but
there's got to be a better coffee place than Starbucks, though.
Right?
Well, then you scout out. There wasn't a lot of options at 6 in the morning. Let me put it that way. That was willing to hold
on Tuesday. Maybe he can do it.
That was willing to hold 400 educators live. Plus,
I think the triplets should sample all of the coffee and then go home to Jeff's house. That would be my vote.
I don't think that would be. Hey, did you say that you are going to be babysitting, Matt? Is that possible? You can bring the entire board with you. That's certainly fine. We can put them in the press room. How about that? Doug, what sessions are you looking forward to, or what sessions are you presenting at? What do you got this year, Doug?
I'm doing, with Sam, I'm doing a Puppet's Guide to High Engagement Teaching, so we're going to let Corson and Waka do most of the talking so we don't have to. And that's Monday night. And then that's the only session I'm doing, but I want to talk about, there's a, what's it called, a Birds of a Feather run by Melissa Eddington and Shauna Pollock that's calling all weird teachers. I didn't tell them to do this. This was not my idea, but they feel like there's a big community of weird teachers who think differently, so they're doing a Birds of a Feather. The only problem is it got scheduled at the exact same time as Sam and my session, so I can't even go to the session that's about the weird teachers because I'll be busy doing puppetry.
Josh, how about yourself? What are you looking forward to? What are you presenting at? Where can we find you?
Well, I do not have any presentations, but I may drop by potentially the podcasters Birds of a Feather to hang out with you guys and lend any advice I can give, just to be a part of the community. I'm looking forward to hanging out with you guys for a live Tech Educator and meeting up with some of my friends from GTA MTV from last year. I'm also really looking forward, oddly enough, to running the 5K that I believe Josh Stumpenhorst is his name. He is organizing. So that'll be fun. I think that's actually going to go to the Rocky Steps. So they're doing that Monday morning. So my Monday's pretty packed as it looks right now. But, I mean, the main thing for me, like I said earlier, I'm looking for some ideas about personalized PD. And I'm really looking just to hang out with people that either know on Twitter and haven't met, or have met once and I never get to see. So to me, that's what the experience is all about.
Nice. Lee, what are you looking forward to getting out of this year's ISTE?
Well, aside from my session on the steps to the steps, that's a working title. I'll figure out something better between now and then. Again, it's the connected feature. It's getting to meet people, getting to hang out, getting to know more awesomeness through the awesome people that are there. That Bloggers Cafe again last year, I can't say enough good stuff about it. And then just the floor is mesmerizing. The trade floor itself, it's casino-esque, I would say. You walk in there and time just vanishes and you wind up on a different planet, I guess. I don't know. And just all the coolness that's there. So I'm excited about the whole thing. Happy to be there.
I'm glad you brought up that floor. The last couple of years, ISTE has been in a location where you could actually see down into the floor. And I always love getting there again on Saturdays. And you just see there's nothingness, but then there's signs of life. It's like playing SimCity, right? It just signs of life starting to pop up and carpets go here and there. And then everyone's like, don't worry about it. We'll be ready for tomorrow. And then you get there on Sunday morning and it's like, oh my God, this just happened. And you realize like there's like boats and cars and people, like castles are popping up and all this technology. It is absolutely awesome. Sam, I want to hit one more topic before we leave, and this is the topic that you're fond of talking about, which is how do you handle Wi-Fi networks when you walk into a room with your iPhone, iPad, Android, Surface, 2 computers? How can you mostly handle the Wi-Fi situation? And I'm promising the people out there watching, I'm not going to go to a full screen on you right now.
Well, despite that, the thing to do with Wi-Fi is to choose the device that you want to have connected, and then, just connect with that one device. Don't go all Wi-Fi whole hog and connect with all 5 of your devices, because you're not using all 5 of your devices. You're using one device. Just go with the one device.
Matt, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, Matt.
I meant to tell people that's the new keynote. Soledad O'Brien backed out a couple minutes ago.
Yes.
So.
Denver 2016.
Wait, leave Soledad O'Brien. There aren't enough women keynotes as it is.
You gotta wait 2045, Sam.
You're 2045.
I'm in.
Taking applications.
Wait, I was in and now I got to apply?
Yes.
He's saying there's a chance.
The puppet's in. Can't say anything about
in.
Sam, there was a question here on the chat. How do people approach Waka? Do they come up and say hi? Can they get a hug? Do they do autographs? Like, what should we do if we run into a puppeteer?
Generally, the accepted cultural practice when you see a puppeteer in public is to throw money at them. Just kind of
seconded.
And then back slowly away from them, never losing eye contact.
I said puppeter, not podcaster, Sam.
Make sure it's change and you throw it hard.
In a sock.
Rolls of nickels.
Very, very cool. Guys, I hope you had a good time today. Thank you all so much for coming on. Doug, Matt, Lee, I hope Waka hasn't scared you. Please come back on the show.
Absolutely.
This is absolutely one of my favorite shows. We do this every year, having people on. We've had Adam Bello come on, keynote. We've had a lot of other people coming on from the ISTE organization. Check us out. If you're not coming to ISTE, we will be live on teachercast.tv from 8 till 12 every morning. On Tuesday, we're going live until 5 o'clock at Microsoft. And if you are a podcaster, or if you like podcasting, don't forget to check out our Birds of a Feather session on Monday from 5:30 to 6:45. We are going to show you how to do podcasting. We have some great vendors showing up to talk about podcasting and to share off what you can do with podcasting. So certainly check that out. And you get to meet Jeff Herb and wish him a happy birthday.
All right. That's nice.
So certainly get a chance to do that. Guys, 96 episodes here. We need to come up with something to do for our 100th episode.
An unpodcast.
The unpodcast. Yes, I think the unpodcast.
I'll let you figure out what that means. I'm just an idea guy.
I think half of
I
this
think
show
we're
is
about to
unpodcast.
do that in about a minute here.
On behalf of everybody here, please, get to ISTE safely. Check us out. Definitely looks like you should be bringing an umbrella. Have a great time. If you're looking to catch us, you can certainly follow us on TeacherCast. If you have any questions about ISTE, you can reach out at teachercast.net/voicemail. Email us at feedback@teachercast.net, and check out these shows over on teachercast.net/iTunes. And all of our videos are going to be found on teachercast.net/YouTube. I'm looking at having more than 50 or 60 videos, all from ISTE this year. I'm really looking forward to it. On behalf of everybody here on the Tech Educator Podcast, thank you so much. Stay tuned for the next episode of 30-Second Take Podcast with our friend Brad Gustafson. My name is Jeff Bradbury. I'll see you at the ISTE conference.